Thanks again, everyone, for joining us today for the We Need a Vacation office hour. So we're just going to do a quick little presentation and then we'll open it up for questions about how to turn an inquiry into a booking is what we'll be talking about today. So I'm Carrie Hillman and I've been working with We Need a Vacation for about 5 years and renting my vacation homes for about 12 years. And co-hosting with me today is Sarah De Silva. Do you want to say hi to everybody?
Good morning. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Great to see you. Thanks for joining.
Okay, great. So the way this will work today, as I mentioned earlier, is we'll do a quick presentation and then we'll answer some questions. We did receive some questions in advance when people signed up for the meeting. And then Sarah will be working the chat. So if you have any questions during the presentation, you can just pop those right into the chat and she'll collect those. Some she might answer right away. Some she might say, we'll get back to you with an email. And then some of the questions she'll save till the end so that we can all go over them together. Um, and yeah, okay, so let's get started here. So today we're going to talk about best practices for handling an inquiry. And so we'll go over a quick response. So just making sure that you are responding super quickly, and we'll give you some tips on how to do that. Then we'll talk about building relationships. So we'll talk about effective and thoughtful communication with your potential guests. Then we'll go over some tips on how to vet your potential guests, so how to do your homework on them. And then we'll go over the vacationer's viewpoint, so sort of how the vacationer is experiencing the booking process. All right. And actually, real quick before we get started, like I said, this is how to turn an inquiry into a booking. So this is less about how to get new inquiries. And if you want to learn about how to get more inquiries, then you'll want to refer to our listing quality audit recording that we have from a previous office hour, and that will be super helpful to get your listing up to snuff so that you can be receiving more inquiries. But this is more like starting when you get the inquiry, what do you do from there? So the first thing is, you've got your inquiry and you want to be the first one to reply. So these vacationers may have sent out multiple inquiries to different houses. And so you want to be the first one to get back to them. And it's possible maybe they only sent one, but even so, you still want to have a speedy response. And so the way to do that would be to enable text messages and use templates. So enabling the text messages, you just do that through your homeowner center under the accounts tab. And what this does is it, when you receive a new inquiry, We Need a Vacation will send you a text alert that just says, you've received a new inquiry, be sure to respond right away. And this is not a direct communication with the vacationer. So don't worry, you're not going to have vacationers texting you all over the place if you sign up for these alerts. So basically, you can see this screenshot right here. You just put in your email address to receive an email alert, and then you put in your phone number to receive a text alert right there. You just check that box. And then using the template. So this is through your homeowner center when you're going to reply to the potential vacationer. You can see this is the box for the homeowner response right here, and this is the drop-down menu to select the template that you'd like to use. We have a sample template. It's just pretty basic, but you can always create your own template that you want to use. And it can have more specific details about your house or your town or your location or something, but it should be, warm and friendly and have a little bit of extra information, not just yes, the house is available. So, and one thing about that actually is that you can edit this template before you send it. So you'll do the drop down, you'll select the template, but then say the vacationer asked, how many twin beds do you have in the house? You can type that one line in to make it more specific to this vacationer. Or if, they said something about how they're bringing the whole family with them, you can type something about how exciting it is to be doing a vacation with the whole family. Anything to make it just slightly personalized, but then you still have the bulk of the template to just get that message out quickly. So, it can be helpful in that sense. So, okay. Um, And and so one last thing about if you're the first one to respond, they might be in the middle of sending a bunch of inquiries as, they write, maybe your house was the first one they inquired on, and they're looking at other places trying to figure out where to send other inquiries. And if you respond right away, that might just stop them in their tracks and they might say, oh, hey, this person got back to me. This looks like a great house. I'll just move forward with this one. So that's one great thing about a quick response. And then another thing is, maybe they have sent out 5 inquiries, and you're the first one to respond, and they're kind of hemming and hawing on which house they want, but they've gotten a friendly message from you. So again, they might just choose your house and move forward with the booking because you got back to them so quickly. So the speedy response really can help you get that booking out of it. Okay, so next we're going to talk about building relationships. So this is, you're still in the booking process and you're trying to figure out who this guest is, and you really want to be building your relationship with them. So again, we talked about the first response. So you want to be matching their enthusiasm. You want to have a friendly, excited response. And then you want to try to make a connection and find some common ground. So maybe you say something like, oh, I see you're from Vermont and I went to school at UVM. Even something that short and quick can really help them feel connected to you, because then they say, oh, yeah, I love that school, or I love Vermont, or whatever the connection might be. Um, and then you really want to set the tone. So the tone of this relationship is that this is a relationship and we will be communicating with each other. This is not an instant book without any communication. This is not short, curt communication. It can definitely be efficient communication, but it really should have some meaningful content to it. Like, don't treat this as like a quick business transaction. Like, yes, it can be businessy, but it should really be getting to know each other, building a foundation, building a relationship, and they're going to feel more connected to you and more invested in your house. And this is great for getting them to book. And then it's also really helpful down the road if any hiccups or bumps come up while they're at your home during their stay. If the fridge breaks or whatever during their stay, if you have a good foundation and a good relationship with them, it's going to be much easier to handle that awkward, difficult situation when that comes up later. And then the last thing here is be thoughtful even if you're declining them. Okay. So say the first inquiry they send to you, they say, oh, I want to have a big bachelorette party and have some dancers at the house and it's going to be great. And, what's your sound system like? So you can write back a nice message, still trying to make connections. And you can say, unfortunately, we don't allow big parties at the house, and that's not really a good fit for our place. But definitely keep us in mind for the guests of your wedding. When the wedding comes up, we'd be happy to host some family members or something like that. So, don't just shut the door, but be friendly and thoughtful, even if you're declining them, to keep that relationship going. And then once you get into the conversation and emails back and forth. Maybe they've told you that they have kids or grandkids that will be joining them. So help them understand why your house is going to be a really good fit for their family. So if they have kids or grandkids, talk about the toys you have or the books you have or all that beach gear that you have stored in the shed or the garage. Mention the bunk beds, mention the pack and play. All these things are super helpful for families to understand what it's going to be like to stay at your house and why your house is going to be a fun one with the kids and make their lives easier. And then, maybe they're bringing a dog or two. Talk about the dog bed that you have, or the water bowl, or the great walks in your neighborhood where you can take the dogs. And then definitely talk up your favorite beach. Okay. So this is probably why you bought your Cape House in the town that you have it, because you love that beach. And so talk about why your beach is going to be best for their family. So Maybe the waves are gentle and because they have little kids, that's going to be a good fit. Or maybe they're bigger waves. So the teens that are in their group are going to love boogie boarding. You can mention the snack shack or the new parking lot that allows for lots of parking, and you don't have to wait in a big line to get into the lot. Or maybe your beach has incredible sunsets. So definitely talk those things up, especially if they have not been to your town before. They don't know these things. Like they don't know that bayside beaches versus ocean beaches have totally different types of waves. So it's really helpful for them to understand why they're going to be a great connection. And then maybe they have extended family of all ages. So, mention things that would be helpful for people of all ages. So maybe there's a first floor bedroom so people can access that without stairs, or maybe there's a no step shower downstairs that would be helpful to know about. And then be sure to answer their specific questions very clearly so that you can set expectations. So a lot of times people will send that first inquiry and then they'll ask you a clarifying question about your home. That they couldn't quite figure out from the listing description. So maybe, I'll take my house for example. Maybe they're asking me about if there's air conditioning or not because we have central air upstairs and we only have window units downstairs. So, so I just like to be really clear. Yes, we have air conditioning. Upstairs is central air, and downstairs is window units, and the downstairs bedroom does have its own window unit. So, it's not going to be as freezing cold as it is at the mall, but it definitely takes the edge off when it's super hot out or the heat waves that come through on Cape Cod. Um, Okay, and then you want to follow up within 24 hours. So they send the first inquiry, you respond right away, and then you definitely want to be following up within a short time. So definitely within 24 hours. Of course, it depends what time of day the initial inquiry comes in, but you can feel free to follow up within a few hours if you haven't heard back from them, because chances are other homeowners are responding, they're having back and forth with other people, and you want to just show up again as a friendly reminder. If they sent 10 inquiries, they could be having a conversation back and forth with one house and kind of have forgotten about you. So just put yourself back into that conversation. You can send a text, which I find actually is really helpful. You can make a phone call. I feel like these days, people get so many spam calls that they're less likely to pick up a call from a stranger, but you never know. They might answer. Or you can try emailing them directly. And so, what this means is if you reply to their initial inquiry, that's through our system. If you log in to We Need a Vacation and reply through there, that's also through our system. But very occasionally, those emails will go to spam. So if you're not hearing back from this vacationer like you would like to, feel free to just copy that email and paste it into a new email thread so that you can just send it directly to them and not through the system. Because once in a while it does get hung up there. Um, and this message can be short, quick. It should be friendly. Something like, "Hi, this is Carrie with the Orleans Farmhouse. I'm just checking in to see if you're still interested in our home. And I want to know if you have any questions that I can answer." Something that simple. You don't have to be super pushy, like, "Are you going to book it today?" But just, show them that you're there and you're ready to help them if they want to move forward. All right. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the vetting process. So this is when you really want to be doing your research on these vacationers or potential vacationers to make sure you know who is going to be staying in your home. So the first place you can start is with the We Need a Vacation profile. So this is a screenshot from the email that gets sent to you with the first inquiry. So as you can see here, Sarah inquired on my home and it says her name. And then right here, it says view profile with the blue hyperlink. And so if you click onto that, it's going to show you how many years she's been with We Need a Vacation and if she's posted any reviews. And that can be super helpful. So you can read the reviews that she's written about other houses. So, you can see if she's really nitpicking the house and she, is mentioning things in the review that are super detailed, or maybe she's just seems super happy and friendly and excited about any house, or maybe she mentions in the review like there was an issue, but the homeowner got to it right away, so we still had a great trip. little details will help you understand who this vacationer is. And then you want to also try to have a phone call with the vacationer. So um, we just recommend a quick phone call with your potential guest. It can be even 5 minutes, and you can learn so much in just 5 minutes. It really helps set the tone, again, for building a relationship and understanding who this vacationer is and why they want to come on vacation to your home. So you can ask questions to get the conversation going. So you can say something like, "What brings you to the Cape?" You can say, "Tell me more about your group," or "How old are the kids? Are you planning to bring any pets?" And all these things just kind of get the conversation flowing. You don't have to say, "Are you going to be cleaning up after yourself?" And are you going to, you don't have to ask like intense questions, but just get the conversation going and try to understand who they are and what they're planning to do at the house. And actually, oh yeah, I already mentioned it. You can say, "Tell me more about your group," and that will help you understand who's traveling together. Is it a family? Is it friends? Is it, college students? All these kind of things can help you understand who will be coming to your home. And in this phone call, again, you want to be honest about your home's shortcomings to make sure that this group is going to be a good fit for your home. So I'll give an example. At my house, we have a fenced-in backyard. Okay, so that's great for kids and dogs. However, we are close to Route 28. So, I always mention this to families and I say, if your dog loves to escape or chase rabbits, this might not be the best fit for you guys. Or if you have a kid that is great at opening gates and loves to run, maybe that's not the best fit. But if, your kids are happy to stay in the backyard, or you've got teenagers or whatever the case may be, then, this would be a good fit for you guys. And if you're not going to have a phone call, you can have a super effective email or text message exchange. So just make sure you have a back and forth, and you're getting to know each other before you send out that rental agreement, and that, will still work. It's really just about building that relationship prior to booking. So then you want to do some online research. So you can search up their email or their phone number. You can try to find them on social media. And this can be kind of tricky. So if you've never done it before, you might try just searching yourself first and see what you get by Googling your own name. And then you'll kind of see that sometimes it is information about you, or it is a link to your social media profile, or sometimes it's just like a totally random person who happens to have the same name. So just take it with a grain of salt what you find with the online research, because it might not always be the exact person that you're looking for. Um, okay, and then you don't want to compromise this vetting process for a last minute booking, right? Okay, so say you've got a week in July left and someone messages you the week before and they say, "Oh, I'm really excited. I want to book your house. I'm so glad it's available. Can I book it right now? I just send me the rental agreement. I want to get this squared away so I don't miss out." Still do the phone call, still do the research, still make sure you know who it is who's trying to come to your house. You know, it can feel exciting if you have someone who wants to do a last minute booking because, you're relieved you finally are going to book this week. But, don't compromise, because, if it's not a good fit, you don't want that person renting your house because then it's just going to be a world of problems. And again, it's okay to say no. So if when you're talking with them or doing the research, you find things that make it really feel like it's not the right fit, maybe they're too needy, maybe they're asking too many questions, maybe they're not answering your questions, or they're dodging the phone call, or honestly, maybe they're asking the wrong questions of you. Like if they say, "How many cars can I fit on your lawn?" Or "Can I bring air mattresses?" Or "I have 5 dogs and my niece has 2 dogs. Is that cool?" Just it's okay to say no to them, and just really pay attention to those questions, because if someone's asking, "Can I bring air mattresses?" that means they want to bring more people than fit in the beds at your house, So just pay attention to what's happening in your conversation. And then, if you do ultimately decide it's not the right fit and you don't want them to stay, if it makes sense, keep the door open for next year. So, you know, the maybe somebody's asking you a lot of questions and then you find out that they actually want to be hosting their wedding at your house and you're like, whoa, no, I do not host weddings, but I'd be happy to host the wedding group or the family of the groom, for example. Or maybe you find out that they want to bring a couple cats, but you're super allergic to cats. So you let them know, like, keep us in mind in the future if you ever decide to travel without your cats. And you never know what's going to happen. Maybe next year they'll decide it was too much work to bring the pets with them and they decide to go without the pets. So if it makes sense, keep it open. If it doesn't, if it was like a bad personality fit or something, then, no need to keep the door open for next year. Okay. So now we're going to go over the vacationer's viewpoint. Okay. So we just talked a lot about how you're going to handle this inquiry, but this is kind of a little bit just to remind ourselves about how the vacationer is feeling. So they're super excited about their trip. They just spent many hours coordinating family to find out when people can get together, who's going to come on this trip. Or maybe they've been, sending out different homes to different people in their family or their friend group to try to pick a house that they all agree on. And so they've finally gotten to the point where they've sent the inquiry to you, and maybe they've sent it to a few others as well. So they are ready to commit at this point. They're ready to book, ready to commit, and they're really hoping for a smooth process through all of this. So um, maybe they're actually even wishing that they could instant book your house, but we purposefully don't do that because we want to make sure that you're able to connect with your guest and make sure it's a really good fit. So, do that connection and that research as quickly as you can because the guest really does want a quick, smooth process. And then once you decide that they're going to be a good fit, continue that booking process by offering them some tools or some easy ways to book the house. So, DocuSign is a great way to sign leases. Offering electronic payments is a great way to accept payments quickly so that that payment comes in and then you know that that booking is solidified. And then after that, you can use our booking management system to send friendly payment reminders. So, an example here is if you are messaging back and forth with a guest, they're super excited to book, and then you say, okay, great, I'm going to email you a PDF of our lease. You print it out and then sign it and mail it back to me with a check, and then I'll sign it and mail back the double signed copy. So that's like a long process. And for some, especially young families, that could be a prohibitive process. Like they're going to say, whoa, I can't even do that. I'm just going to book with someone else who can do this more quickly. So, like a young millennial family they might have no printer. They might have no envelopes or stamps. They definitely are not going to have a checkbook. And so those three things right there, they might just move on to book a different house that has a quicker, smoother process, but check with them because maybe they do really want to print it and write a check and mail it to you. And that's fine if that's how they want to do it. But just check in with them and find out what the easiest way would be for them to receive the lease agreement from you. And again, if you don't use DocuSign, I don't work for DocuSign and I don't get promotions from them, but I personally use it and it just is so easy for the guest. It's a little bit of extra work on my part, but the guest literally just like opens an email, clicks a few things, and the lease is signed. And then I click a few things, the lease is signed from my side, and then DocuSign sends both of us a signed copy. So it's just so easy. And there are other electronic signature apps that you can use, but DocuSign is just a well-known one. Okay, great. So let's talk about some examples of responses real quick. So these first two responses are warm and welcoming and friendly. Okay, so hello, Robert. Thanks for the inquiry. Yes, there's plenty of room for two couples. There's one bedroom with a queen on the first floor and then a staircase up to more bedrooms. Then the second email says, hi, Donna. Thanks for your inquiry. Our house is available and would fit your family very nicely. Do you have time to chat this week? So both of these are friendly and conversational and answering questions. And then the third response here, you can see not available, no dogs allowed. So that one is a missed opportunity. I would say, you could have said something there like, unfortunately, we don't allow dogs at our house, but keep us in mind if you ever decide to travel without your dog. We would love to host your family. And, maybe someone is traveling with a dog this year because they couldn't find a spot to board their dog because they normally board their dog. And next year, they might choose your house and not have the dog traveling with them. And then here are a couple examples of how to say no. So we've got two samples here. The top one says, Hi, Maureen. Thank you for your thoughtful email. We're so flattered that you're interested in renting our home. I apologize for my delay in responding. I was on a work trip and then got home to a very hectic day yesterday. We only have 10 beds in the house, so we can't accommodate the 13 people. And I feel like it would be a little tight for that number of people in our dining and relaxing spaces. And that's totally fine. You're allowed to host whatever number of people you want. And it's really helpful for the guests if you can help them understand if their group is too large to fit in your house. You want them to be happy. You don't want them to just be squeezing in. One thing I would say about this one is, though, this part, apologizing for your delay in response and talking about your work trip and then your hectic day. Don't burden them with your personal issues or your other job. Just, apologize and then move on. You don't need to get into other details necessarily. Like they just want you to be available to answer their questions. You don't have to talk about your busy workday. And then down here, we have, Hi, Deborah. Thank you for your interest in our home. We unfortunately just confirmed this week with another family. We do have the following week available in case you have some flexibility. If not, I hope you're able to find another wonderful rental. So again, that's nice and friendly. I would just say on that one, they could have said something like, keep us in mind for next year. Typically we book out most of our year in January, so be sure to get in touch earlier next year. Something like that would just help the vacationer know how to book with you next year. Um, okay, great. So now I'm going to ask Sarah to pull in some questions if we had any questions from the registration or if we had any questions that came in from the chat. Just, yeah.
Great. Um, Carrie, this may be a question that you might know the answer to. So Scott was asking if he's using a personalized template in booking management and he's replying to people. Does every time he replies, does it include a link to his listing? I know when they initially inquire, it will send when they get the auto reply, the
Mhm.
vacationer, they get the link. Does that also, whenever he's replying to somebody, is that being auto included?
No, it's in the same email thread, right? So they'd be able to see further down the link to your place. But yeah, you can feel free to include that link again in the template, especially if they mention something like they're looking at a few different houses, or you could even just proactively say, in case you've inquired on a few different houses, here's the link to our place again. Yeah, that's a good point. That could be helpful.
Perfect. And a couple, I know we talked about this before we started the meeting. If you want to just kind of touch on how the current season is playing out so far, we did have a few questions come in prior to about the state of the booking season.
So, So basically, usually we see a lot of bookings at the end of the year and into January, and that's kind of like a huge booking time where the first inquiries are coming in, people are starting to book out their summer weeks, and we do see some come in the fall as well, or repeat renters also we see in the fall confirming for the following year. But usually our first surge in inquiries happens through December and January, and then some into February. And right now, we're actually putting together some stats and pulling some data on what we've seen happening so far. So we're going to release that out next week, and we should have a little bit more information about exactly how it's looking and what the bookings are looking like for this coming summer. So keep an eye out for that coming out next week from us.
Great. Joanne has a great question. What's the best way to say no to a difficult tenant who wants to come back?
That's a great one. Um,
Right.
yeah, so that's always hard. You could definitely go with the honest route. You could say, unfortunately, the report from the cleaners, wasn't great after your stay last year. We're so sorry. I don't think we'll be able to accommodate you this year. And then if it's more like their communication style or their, nitpickiness, or if maybe they were demanding of things that they wanted at the house, you could say something like, it seems like last year you had, some issues, and it seems like the house isn't really a great fit for you and your family. Or maybe their family is growing, and they're adding more guests on each year, and so they're just becoming too large for your house. And that, again, you can honestly say that. Or if you're, it's okay to tell a little white lie if you're too nervous, or you just, don't really want to address that head on. You can just say, we had another returning renter who really wanted that week, so when they have priority, or family wants to use it, or something like that. But, definitely I would say if it was like a cleaning issue, or they left the house too messy, or their kids stained the couch, or they broke too many things, I would say as much as you can gently let them know. I mean, they're going to be probably mad and offended regardless, or they might get defensive. But it's good for them to know, like it's not nice to leave a bunch of cereal bowls on the table and dirty dishes all over and stains on the couch and towels strewn about the house. That's not really the way our rental homes work. We typically, our homeowners are asking vacationers to clean up a little and, make the house presentable before they leave. Do you think I answered that enough, Sarah? Do you have anything else to
No, I
add?
think I think that's great.
Okay.
There's
Oh, wait,
there's
I
okay.
did have one more thing about that. And how difficult are they really? Like, is it you had to answer a few more questions? They kind of were a little irritating, but they left the house super clean. Like, that type of renter is a known entity, and maybe they were kind of annoying to deal with, but they left the house in good shape, and, or maybe they broke one thing by accident, but you were able to fix it, or they paid for it, or whatever. So just keep that in mind, because that's a known entity that wants to return year after year versus like an unknown group. You never know who you're going to get. They could be more annoying, they could be messier, or you might not even book that week. So, weigh your options for sure.
Great. Melissa, excuse me. Melissa was asking when a guest requests a multi-week stay during the summer, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 10 weeks, how much of a discount do you generally offer?
Um, I would say this totally depends on you. Personally, I do not offer discounts on people that are staying multiple weeks when it's the high season in the summer, because I know I'll be able to book those weeks at the full price, and I can't really afford to be giving out a discount to people. You can offer some sort of discount, like, the cleaning fee. You can offer wiggle room on the cleaning fee. So, if they're staying for multiple weeks and your cleaning fee is included, you could say, okay, well, because I don't have to pay the full cleaning fee, we'll just have the cleaner come in. She'll do a quick clean in between, and I can give you $200 off, or $400 off, or whatever little discount you want to give them. And then, or like, say a pet fee, like if this is a returning renter and they're great with their pet fee, or they're great with their pets, then you can say, I'm not going to charge you the pet fee, and you can come back and that'll be your discount. Or, but, I wouldn't be giving like any kind of major discounts for your summer season, just because if you need that, if you need that income, people know it's the high season. But it's up to
Mhm.
you. Sorry, that
And
wasn't a very clear answer.
No, it was great. And Greg chimed in the chat, which is another great thing to keep in mind. Consider requiring a mid-rental cleaning,
Yeah.
because they're gonna do their more wear and tear on the house when they are in there for a longer period.
Yeah, and it's definitely good to get your cleaners in there to, make sure they're not being too messy. And the cleaners appreciate it because then they don't have to do a double big cleaning the following week. They can kind of do a little maintenance in the middle and then the full cleaning that next week.
Right. Anybody has any other questions? We don't have any new ones in the chat, but feel free to throw it in there or unmute yourself, and you can ask us if you have any other questions.
I do.
Great.
Uh, I'm Carrie, and I'm new to this year. We've owned other properties like apartment complexes, but this is new for us for a rental home. How do you get around saying to someone, we don't allow any pets of any kind, and they say they have a service animal?
That is a great question. We just put out a blog. Sarah, I don't know if you have access and you can put that into the chat. We just put out a blog that kind of lays out the details of service animal versus emotional support animal versus pet. And with a service animal, you really need to be kind of treating that as if it's a medical device that this person needs. And really, you can't be denying a service animal, even if you have allergies or, people are sensitive to pet dander, you still need to be allowing the service animal. There's more gray area with the emotional support animal, but then if it's a pet, just simply a pet, then you can definitely deny those. Um, and you also can't be charging an extra cleaning fee. Like, we've had this come up in the past where the owner wanted to charge a higher cleaning fee um, because they don't normally allow pets or dogs of any kind, and they were going to charge a higher cleaning fee. So that's not allowed either. Um, uh, and maybe Sam, if you want to jump in here, I don't know if you have anything to add. Sam was the one who wrote that blog.
Yeah, no, that was great. It was mostly I encourage everybody to click on that blog post. Hi everyone, I'm Sam. I'm the director of client services with We Need a Vacation. So I'm the contracts person usually and talking to the attorneys. But we had a great attorney that participated in our virtual series at last fall. Mike Pierce of Pierce Law. I think it caught a few of us off guard, the service animal question, because for many years, even some of us were advising that if you have severe allergies, that that you could deny a pet of any kind. I want to just say it's not across the board. There are exceptions. Those are there. Read the blog post. There's a few of them on there. If you think you might be an exception, definitely talk to an attorney. Is what I would say. If you reside at the property and have life-threatening issues with regards to pet dander, you could certainly be an exception. That type of thing. But I think what Carrie's touching on is any standard. Certainly vacationers coming in after the fact, like the next vacationer, if they have allergies, I know you might be worried about that for sure. But I would just say at the end of the day, how often does this really come up?
Hmm.
And then if you are certainly concerned or think you might be an exception to that, consult an attorney for sure, because there are exceptions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
And
did you have another question, Carrie?
I do not.
Okay.
um, There was Sam, I this what Mike just put in a question about his insurance does not allow 12 specific breeds of dogs.
Mhm.
So how do you navigate a service animal that is one of the 12 banned dogs?
Again, a great question, but I think they're referring to them as pets still. Without actually seeing, after not actually seeing your policy, it's hard for me to answer that specifically.
Mhm.
But I'm assuming that they're referring to it as pets, and service animals, under the law are considered what Carrie was saying, like a medical device.
Mhm.
So there's probably an exception there.
Thank you.
On that same topic, can you request paperwork from the prospective renter that proves that they have a service animal versus an emotional support animal?
There's actually no certification for a service animal. There's not an ADA certification. Fair Housing Massachusetts does not offer a certification. So there's really not a lot of paperwork that you could be collecting. And I would actually hesitate you on anybody who tries to give you paperwork, because there really isn't one. There really isn't any.
Sam? Sam, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry. I don't mean to go down the service animal road because it's a big conversation, but I can take one
Yeah.
more on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would just say, having raised a couple of service animals, I mean, they're all not treated equal. And I
Yeah.
think there is as you say, there's a big difference between a true service animal, guide dog, canine companion. If they're raised through those organizations, they can definitely get you paperwork as a homeowner around that they are certified, that they've passed the program. So there is ways of getting that. Understand what you're saying, the emotional support, there's stuff out there that
Yeah, right.
is very, very different. So
I think the difference is and double check with an attorney. I'm not sure you can require that. So
Yep.
just if you're concerned about that, certainly seek legal counsel.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brad.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. So I'm new to We Need a Vacation. I've been renting my place for about 8 years. And I've noticed this year in particular, rentals are coming in slow. And I think I've had two inquiries on We Need a Vacation, and both times the clients decided that my place wasn't suitable for whatever reason, but both love my place. So do you have any advice on how to make your place a little more, I don't know, appealing? Like, do I need to look at my pricing? Yeah, because this is just, and I don't know if just this, maybe it's slow this year. But normally I'm almost entirely booked for the high season, and I have quite a lot of time left.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it is just the beginning of February, so we do still have time. And like I mentioned earlier, we're going to get the report back on the data that we've been pulling about what the season outlook looks like. So we'll get that next week. So keep an eye out for that. But as far as making your listing more appealing, we do have the listing quality audit section. And so that section kind of goes through a number of areas of your listing, and it sort of scores your listing on how well it's filled out. Like, it doesn't score you on how beautiful your living room is, for example, but it scores you
Right.
on how well your listing is filled out and completed and has all the details to help a vacationer understand what your house is like. And then based on that listing quality audit score, that places you in the search results. So it can
Oh,
help
okay.
if you get a better listing quality audit score, it can help push your listing to the top of the search results so you're seen more often. Thus, you'll probably get more inquiries because you're just, you're one of the first few houses that people are seeing when they do a search for 3 bedrooms in Orleans or whatever. Um,
Okay.
and then, so definitely check that out, and you can kind of see it highlights different areas that you haven't completed on your listing or that you could fill out better or more completely. And then we also have a recording from a previous office hour that goes through, actually, it was from our virtual series last fall. And it goes through the listing quality audit in detail. And then it also has some other areas like looking at your photos and looking at your listing description and your listing title, and kind of gives some pointers on how to optimize those and make those as best as you can. And then you can also call our office and we can go through your listing in detail with you. But yeah.
Okay.
And I'm
Thanks.
I'm putting the link to that office hours that Carrie was just talking about. This is our direct link right to that office hours on our YouTube page. So
And then actually about your pricing also, we do offer consultation services to really do a deep dive into your pricing and analyze how you compare to other homes on our site. And um, so that's a paid service that you can sign up for to, get a really detailed view. But generally talking about pricing, like if you booked up super early last year and then you raised your price a lot this year and then you're not booking up as quickly, that can kind of be an indicator that maybe you've put your price too high and you can drop it back down. And even if you have booked weeks at your higher price already, it's okay to drop it down. And if vacationers complain about it or they say, well, why is this price lower now? That's the price they pay for getting the best week of the summer and they booked it in January and that's what it was when
yeah.
they booked it. Sales at stores happen and that's what happens. So,
Right. Okay. Thanks.
yeah, you're welcome. Anybody else have questions that have come up?
Gary, I had one more question. How do you rank the listings in the replies when people put in the search engines? Like, how do you know what comes up first?
Rank the listings in reply. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm not understanding. Could you?
Let's say I go for a week in July in Dennis,
Uh-huh.
and I want X number of bedrooms, and there are 25 properties that fit my criteria. How do the listings get shown on the
Oh,
page?
right. Okay. Yeah, so that is with the listing quality audit. So there's an algorithm that takes into account everything in the listing quality audit and then scores your property and then plops them into order accordingly. And some big factors in that listing quality audit are the response rate and response time. So your response rate is how many of your inquiries you've replied to. And then your response time is how quickly you're replying to them. And I believe it's within a day, within 2 days, or after 2 days. There's only sort of three sets there. So, as long as you're responding within the first 24 hours, you're going to be lumped into that first set of people that are scoring as within a day. So even if a inquiry comes in the middle of the night and you reply to them in the morning, you're going to be fine with that ranking. So
The guest reviews calculate into that?
yes, guest reviews are another big one. So you should really be trying to get a few new guest reviews each year. You don't have to have a million, but I believe if you do have like a lot of guest reviews, maybe you get an extra little bump, but it's not super significant. But just the main thing is having new reviews every year is important. And then the photos are another part that are important. Just making sure that you use all the photos that you're allotted, and then making sure that they're all large photos. Like sometimes if you accidentally pull a thumbnail in and upload that, it's going to show up really small as a little small square instead of being able to expand to the full size photo. So just, go to your listing and double click on the photos so that they expand. And if they're large and filling up most of the screen, you're fine. But if they're small and kind of blurry, then it means you've uploaded the photo in the wrong way. So either A, you need new photos if your photos are old and they're small for that reason, or if you've recently uploaded them and they're small, um, that can be remedied. And then also your very first photo should be horizontal and not vertical. So not tall and skinny. It should be long and wide. And that's just the way our website is set up. It's more appealing to have the photos set horizontally. And then if Jenny, our marketing person, wants to run any social media, like sometimes she'll just grab listings and put them onto social media. Like, for example, we're trying to pull a bunch of listings that are either just on Cape or just off Cape for the upcoming soccer. I don't know what's that called, Sarah? The big
The
soccer,
world.
the World Cup. Yes, I'm not a soccer fan, as you can tell. But so like we're just pulling a bunch of random listings from our site, and we're going to promote those with the blog posts that we're going to do for the World Cup. But if your first photo is horizontal, we can't actually use it to promote it for those kinds of purposes. So
This is We Need a Vacation. Yeah, they're having a,
all right. So let's see. Did that answer your question enough, Scott?
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, great. And if you ever have any questions about your listing quality audit or, how to make it better, or if there are other areas that aren't actually included in that you want to make better in your listing, feel free to always call us or send us an email. We're happy to help out and make sure everybody's listing is the best it can be because, that makes our website look better too, and it gets you more business. So, all right. Any last questions before we wrap up here?
Looks like
Um,
Marilyn. I think I saw
oh,
Marilyn raise her hand. Oh, I think she's happened. Let me see if this works for you. Did that work, Marilyn, for me to ask you to unmute?
How's that?
yep, we can
Here
hear
we
you.
go.
Quick question. I'm a long-time lister on We Need a Vacation, and I think somewhere in my listing it says I've been listing for 15 years, but it's actually more than that. Is there
Mhm.
a way to get an actual number of years count on my listing?
Yeah, we can look into that for you. Not sure why that would be happening, but what's your property ID number? And we'll get back to you after the meeting.
It's 17772.
All right. Yeah, we'll look into that for sure.
I think that's the number. Maybe
Okay.
it's one
Well,
oh, maybe it's
I'll write your name down too.
10772.
And the listing is under your name?
Yeah,
Okay, I've
I'm
got
in
your name.
Harwich.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, of course. All right. Anything else before we wrap it up here? There will be a recording of this and it will be posted on the registration page, so you can always refer back to that. And if you submitted a question when you registered and it wasn't answered, we will probably be emailing you about it. And if we don't, feel free to get in touch with us if you need more detail.
And
So,
just a reminder, I know Carrie touched on it, but just want to give another reminder before we sign off that the summer outlook data is coming out next week and we will be emailing it out to the homeowners. So just keep an eye out in your inbox for that email.
oh, and also one other quick announcement. We'll be having another office hour next month, the first week of the month, and we'll continue them on through the spring, excuse me, through the spring until the, summer season heats up and everybody's really too busy to be getting on these calls. But keep an eye out for those. And if you've signed up for this one, you'll be automatically signed up for the upcoming ones through this year. So you don't need to re-register. You'll be getting the links sent to you. So yeah. So thanks so much, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you. And if you
welcome.
get a chance, go ahead and go on Google. We would love if you could write us a review on our business page on Google. That would be fantastic.